Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one of our videos. Today, I'm here with a bunch of our group facilitators, and we are going to be talking a little bit about what A&E's support groups look like. My name is Ryan Walsh. I'm a facilitation specialist at A&E, and I help work on the YouTube channel. And I will let everybody here introduce themselves. Let's start with Jay.
Hi, my name is Jay Eveson Igler. I use they them pronouns. I'm a senior manager here at AANE. So in addition to facilitating a few different workshops and groups as we're discussing, I also manage some of the groups that you all engage in. I facilitate the Autistic Parents Group, which is a group that is for parents who themselves identify as autistic. And I also co-facilitate the gender diverse group with Liv.
Thanks, Jay. And we'll go with Wilma now.
I'm Wilma Wake. I live in Maine. I'm a social worker in private practice, and I specialize in working with people who are autistic, especially older autistic adults. And I co-facilitate two groups. One is for anyone over 50, and the other is for women over 50 who believe they're on the autism spectrum.
Great, Wilma. Thank you. And lastly, Liv.
Hello, yeah. So my name is Liv Gallup, she, her. And like Jay mentioned, we do the gender diverse group together. I run actually many of our LGBT groups here. Um, we have a sizable population of folks who are both queer and on the spectrum, and I'm very proud to have a place for us all here at AANE. Amongst some other groups I run, I do the D&D activity groups, which are really fun. And In the past, I've done other events for AA&E. Back when we had an in-person annual gala, I would MC that every now and then. But yeah, I think that's probably it for the meantime. I'll leave it there.
Great, Liv. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. The first thing that I want to do is I want to ask you all a little bit about your approach to facilitation and what your normal group structure looks like. Actually, yeah, let's start there. What does a normal group look like at A&E? And let's just go in the same order. We'll start with Jay.
Yeah. So I've experimented with different facilitation styles since coming here to AANE and previously. And what I have found to work the best for my groups when I do them individually is that there's a little bit of structure, but there's a lot of transparency around that structure. I try to give group members autonomy and agency over what that structure is going to look like. And I also try to facilitate conversations around topics that come up organically during my groups. But I always have a backup topic just in case, and those are shared with the groups ahead of time. I also provide my group members usually with resources, um, and the opportunity to share things with me that they might be uncomfortable bringing up into group. So I try to facilitate a safe space where people are receiving um, educated, structured, and peer facilitated care in my groups.
Thank you, Jay. And Wilma?
So the two groups that I do are pretty self-sufficient groups. At one time, I did bring in topics for discussion, but the group itself is so active and brings in so many things that are on their mind. So I don't usually throw out a topic. I see what people want to talk about. And usually a number of people have different things that they want to talk about, and we'll talk about a topic for a while, and then maybe we'll shift to somebody else's topic. So I think we have a chance for a lot of people to be heard if they want to in the group.
Before we move to Liv, I just want to ask, because I think that you've highlighted something that is important to people who haven't maybe joined a group before, which is that you said that earlier on in the group's lifespan, you would introduce topics and you would like bring things up, and then eventually it kind of evolved into this more organic space where people would kind of just come to group with their own concerns. And I'm sure you guys can all speak to this to a degree, but I think that's just since Wilma brought it up, that's why I'm asking. Um, but what does that look like? Like how does a group transition from being like a bunch of new people who like need more structure to being like this more organic ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. The groups evolve because you always have new people coming in. Um, but I think as new people come in, they have adjusted to this structure, which is that um, usually if somebody has a comment that they want to make, they'll raise their hand and we'll call on them and they'll share what's on their mind. And that usually will start a conversation going that other people will want to respond to what they said. And we have the chat going at the same time. So people are often putting comments in the chat that maybe they're not bringing into the discussion or there's not time to bring it in there, but it goes up um, on the chat. And so people are back and forth talking about what's happening in the room and then also sometimes bringing in comments from the chat. It's very lively and it just keeps going from the time we start until the time we have to shut it down.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to call some attention to it because I think that the concern that a lot of people have when they join our groups is like, I've never joined a support group before. Like this could be kind of, weird or awkward. Like, what does it look like long term to be doing that? So that's why I wanted to bring it up. But Liv, can you talk a little bit about your approach to facilitation and like what your normal groups look like?
Totally, yeah. So it's actually quite similar to both folks who have said stuff already, where I like it to be as organic as possible. Like I often describe the way my groups feel as like hanging out in your big sister's room, and we're like happen to have a lot of relevant information to talk about, even though it's like kind of this chill environment. Um, but I try to take a similar approach to what Wilma was talking about, where um, we'll try to make it as organic as possible and really as participant focused as we can be. So, for instance, I will ask everybody to either introduce themselves if they're new to the group or give like an update, say if it's been a week or 2 weeks. I'll ask for what's been happening, if there's anything relevant for the group that we're in, if you could just explain what that could be. And generally, people either will have like a story to tell or like just something that's happened to them that is unique to living through or living with an autistic lens. And most everybody can either relate to it or extrapolate, feelings of their own from the stories that are told. And usually, that kind of thing is what keeps the conversation going for usually the whole time. And multiple people will come with different things to say. But anytime that there isn't enough organic content, I guess, to fill out an entire hour and a half or a single hour, however long the group is, then I also will have like a backup topic, like Jay was describing earlier, just in case anybody might just need like a prompt to get things moving on. Um, but yeah, I try to have my groups be like, you know, as emotionally vulnerable as the participants would like to be. And in that way, I think we can really foster a sense of good community. And I find that a lot of my participants end up staying in contact outside of their groups. And I think that's great because, having having community where you once didn't is, really amazing. And I'm glad that that's the kind of thing we can foster at AANE.
I agree. I think it's a really good thing that people get the opportunity to not only make connections inside of the group space, but also to make connections outside of the group space and to just be able to share bits of their experience that maybe they wouldn't be able to share in a different space. And I think that that's something that's really good about the space that we can create in our groups is that we create the opportunity for people to have like these unique conversations that would probably not exist in another environment. So, and as a facilitator myself, I think that that's one of the things that I enjoy most about doing it because I get to see a lot of unique perspectives. And so I'm wondering, what are some unique things that you notice about facilitating a group, and what are, you don't have to say anything too specific, but like what are some experiences that you have related to facilitation that you feel are representative of the group experience, and what's unique about A&E's support groups?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I've really come to find empowering and noticed about the groups here at AA&E is that people come in already prepared with this idea of being supportive for other people, not just coming in with their own unique issues and struggles. So they come in with a variety of different experiences, a variety of different knowledge foundations, and they come prepared to share what they have um, and to receive support. And I think one of the reasons for that, and one of the things that makes groups here at A&E truly unique, is that a lot of them are peer facilitated or at least informed by a peer perspective. So for a lot of our groups, for autistic adults, many of them are peer facilitated by other autistic adults, or at least the facilitation is informed by other autistic adults and in a neuro-affirming perspective. And I think that's really what sets us apart from a lot of other organizations and a lot of other support structures, is that we do value the voices of autistic people in informing the things that we do.
Thanks, Jay. And Wilma?
So I would underscore what you just said, because um, the groups are very organic, and they tend to have the same core people come. There are new people that are always dropping in and joining the group, but there's kind of a core group, and they've gotten to a point where they kind of trust each other, and they feel safe being vulnerable in the group. And I think it helps that I'm part of the population that the group is, autistic adults over 50. I'm in my 70s and was diagnosed with autism almost 10 years ago now. So I'm very comfortable with my autism, and am very comfortable with helping other people explore their autism for themselves. So there's always some newer people coming in, and there are always some regulars that show up. And so it's a wonderful combination where new people feel very welcomed, and people who come on an ongoing basis find a topic that's enriching to them.
Thank you, Wilma. And Liv?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Could you repeat the original question?
Yeah, no worries. The original question was, what do you notice about your experience facilitating groups that makes our group environment unique?
Totally. Thank you. Um, I think a lot of what I can say has been said already. For instance, I agree entirely that folks come with this understanding that we're here to care for each other. Um, and I think often we're able to um, provide spaces very quickly um, that where people can really let their feelings out and start talking about things that they may have never even talked about with other folks before. Um, and I think that's really wonderful. Um, so I guess the one other thing I could add is that we often will get folks who are also professionals in their own lives coming to attend the groups as participants. Um, and I think that it's really wonderful that those folks can come here with their um, with their life experience of being on the spectrum, but also with their professional prowess in whatever part of the field that they might be in. For instance, one of my groups right now, we have somebody who is also a social worker as a participant, and she's just lovely, and just is so just great for the group dynamic, both like from her personality and her professional skills. So I think that it just speaks a lot to the kind of inclusiveness where we can that we have, where we can have anybody from somebody who is just figuring out their spectrum hood, just learning what it means to be a part of our community, all the way up to folks that have been diagnosed for ages, folks that have been working with us for ages, all joining in the same place for the same cause, which is helping each other out and making a you know making a nice, cool, constructive place for us.
So my next question, because you all brought it up in some way, is about our peer facilitation model, and like about and speaking more to like how people bring themselves to the table, but also come with the knowledge that not only are they there to get support, but they're also there to help do some supporting, and that the facilitators are really there to encourage that conversation. But before we do that, I just want to ask Liv, because you brought up something that I think is important to mention, which is the speed at which we can offer our groups. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about that, because I do think that's something that makes our environment unique, is that we really can, if you want to be in a group in a week, if you want to be in a group in a couple days, you can be in a group, and it's not a huge deal at all for somebody to do that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's awesome that we can get folks involved so quickly. I'll actually just describe the general pipeline I see with people coming to contact us. I do a lot of our like intake calls. I don't know what they're formally called anymore, so forgive me. But folks can call AA&E for a free 30-minute like information call where we describe anything that you might want to know about autism or our organization. And often folks will be searching for community in reaching out to us, where I will suggest maybe you should join a group and see about being in, just amongst, fellow peers and stuff like that. Um, and to those who agree to do so, like you said, Ryan, you could get into a group within a week or so. And that's possible because we have lots of open groups where you can drop in, even if you've never been before, and just start participating, introduce yourself, and participate whatever to your comfort level. Sometimes folks just want to be there and listen. Some folks are ready to talk and go right ahead. And we have plenty of those that you can just hop into right away. But then we also have our groups that meet for set amounts of time, where they'll go for maybe 8 sessions in a row, and often folks will go to a few of these open drop-in groups and then end up signing up for like a whole round of 8 groups, and that's I feel like where folks really start to like feel like they're here and part of the community and whatnot. So yeah, you can get involved super quick, and then we have plenty of options to stay involved for a nice long time if you're finding us good for you, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I want to highlight before we go to the peer facilitation question is just that, we don't have a barrier to entry for any of our groups. So you don't need a official diagnosis. You don't need, you don't need to provide any paperwork to us. You don't need to, you don't need to do anything. The only thing you need to do is just sign up. And I think that's worth mentioning, because when I do my information resource calls, people will say like, oh, well, I'm interested in the groups, but like, I don't know, I don't have a diagnosis and things like that. And I think it's important to remember that, everybody's welcome in our groups, no matter what. If you identify as autistic, you're welcome. And if you are a parent of an autistic person and you're looking for that kind of a group, you're welcome there as well. So just wanted to point that out. But back to the peer facilitation model, if we can start with Jay again, I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, A&E really comes to this model on the premise of nothing about us without us. And this idea of, or theory rather, of double empathy, which has shown in studies that autistic people can better relate to other autistic people more so than they can to neurotypical people. And neurotypical people oftentimes experience a communication barrier with autistic people in the same way that autistic people experience that communication barrier with them. So being able to come into a space where people maybe might not have the same lived experience, but might have similar communication styles, similar struggles, similar ways of doing things and thinking can be really empowering and really helpful when you're surrounded by a society that maybe doesn't prioritize the way your brain works.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jay. And Wilma, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree with all of that. And I think the groups become very open places where people are comfortable being honest. And I think it is because of that, because I'm also an autistic woman who is over 50. And so I've been through a very similar journey as have the people who come into the groups. And so it's very easy for people to open up. And I'm always impressed at how open and honest people are in the groups, and how supportive they are of each other, which is beautiful to see. As facilitator, there's not a lot I really have to do because the group itself provides its own input, its own questions, its own flow, and it's quite a great experience to be part of the group.
Absolutely. Thank you, Wilma. And Liv.
I'm so sorry. Could you just say the original question again, please?
Discussing the peer support model and how it appears in your groups.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Well, I think I got into it a little bit with just mentioning that like everybody from newly diagnosed, some folks that aren't even diagnosed, all the way up to, you know, uh, I guess hard to describe. I guess like folks that are seasoned with their spectrum hood and like professionals and folks like that. It really just becomes such a wonderful melting pot of folks with all sorts of experience with autism. And I'm an autistic person myself. I was diagnosed when I was 6, and I'm 31 now. And I think just like having all of our mutual experience together is such a wonderful thing, and it compounds with all of our shared identities as well. So, like for instance, the LGBT groups, like we've been talking about, like all of us sharing a queer identity and an autistic identity, and having all of that come together in one space, I think makes for an an incredible support environment that you might not be able to find many other places. Um, I often say I get as much out of being in the groups as some of the participants say they do, and I really mean that. Like, having being able to be here as part of the community is like such a wonderful thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that you have highlighted something that at least I, as a facilitator, feel very strongly about, and I can imagine that other facilitators feel the same way, is that, I think that what you've said really speaks to the diversity of people that's present in the groups, and like the amount of experience that we can really, get a chance to hear about. Like I feel very like privileged to be able to just hear so many different perspectives, and like I get a lot out of just hearing everybody talk, and there's an amount of experience that's being shared that I don't really think is available in other places, and I just think that that's a wonderful thing, and I personally, as a facilitator, have gotten a lot out of that, professionally and personally. So Um, I think it's a really good thing to bring that up. Um, I think to wrap things up here, I just want to see if there's anything anybody else would like to talk about regarding their groups. And, um, once again, just thank you all for bringing your perspective and talking about your experience running groups.
I want to, bring up kind of the understanding of like who really comes to these groups. And um here at A&E we tend to cater to adults, so we see a lot of adults in our groups. We do have groups for teens as well. Um but and parents and partners, we actually do have groups for partners as well. But in terms of our adult groups, one of the big things that you'll see is a wide mix of people who are diagnosed as children, like myself, and people who were diagnosed in adulthood. So people who are coming to it, as Liv said. And I also see a large mix of people who are just exploring the potential, who are exploring self-identity. And I think that A&E provides a really good, safe ground to be able to do that in a way that is affirming. And I think that's something that we offer that's pretty unique. And I know, for at least from my understanding and my experience as an autistic parent, is that for my group, the autistic parents group, there really is not a lot for parents who themselves identify as autistic. And many of the parents that we get here at A&E end up finding out about their diagnosis after their kids have been diagnosed. So being able to provide that space for people is such a privilege. And for me as an autistic parent, like you said, Ryan, it is invaluable to me as on both a personal and professional level.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Jay. Thank you. Anything else before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I was just gonna add, if you are thinking of coming to an AA&E group, um, there's we there's so many results that folks can gather from being in a group with us. Um, Everything from finding comfort and you know like understanding all the way to liberation, empowerment, and community. Um, so if there's anything that you think you might want or need from knowing fellow autistic folks and you know strategizing and you know becoming friends and being in community all together, it's probably something that our groups can provide. um, each group is different, and each facilitator is different, but you know that's the beauty of coming and trying it out. So you know if you're thinking about it, I would just encourage to give it a try.
Well, I would like to just underscore the value of the possibility of leaving notes in the chat, because throughout our group sessions, people are leaving notes about different resources they have found, different experiences they've had. So it's such a rich learning environment. And I really am always learning from it. And I just want to add too, there's terrific support from AANE at supporting the work that we do in leading the groups, and it's a great place to be doing this.
I agree. I think that A&E has provided such a robust and unique platform for both facilitation and support. So, um, I just want to thank all of you for the work that you do and for the time that you're giving to this video today. And to anybody who's watching, I just want to say, if you're looking for any kind of support, if you're looking to be a member of any of these groups, if you're looking to check out our services, you can check them out at ane.org/events. And all of that stuff is going to be available to you. You can also just kind of poke around our website and see what we have available. And stay tuned for more of our videos and our monthly live stream with Liv here. So uh, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.
See you
Bye bye.
later.